Transmission log 37.50641. Origin Jovian system 2203 CE. Location surface of Io. The uprising on Callisto exposed the vulnerability of the corporations. Foremost was the Lunar Frontier Authority, LFA. Now the LFA faces peril and promise on another of Jupiter's moons, Io. Io's intense radiation of volcanic plumes and relentless tidal forces make for hostile work. Yet these same dangers are also Io's allure, their limitless energy. The LFA uses remote-operated vehicles, ROVs, to minimize the risks and maintain critical structures on Io's surface. But a flaw in the code has left them vulnerable. A group of black hat hackers known as Posywid plots to hijack the moon, Io, and hold the entire Jovian power grid to ransom. Standing in their way are the ultra-corporate LFA, the constructors of the lunar energy facilities. Both sides have engaged a fleet of ROV advanced remote-operated robots to battle across the treacherous landscape.
Hi, I'm Nikki from Board Game Geek with this how to play video for Line of Fire Burnt Moon, a two-player deck-building lane battler card game of machines warring across the volcanic surface of Io. Line of Fire Burnt Moon is a standalone two-player card game for ages 14 and up that fuses the lean deck building of the award-winning Undaunted series with fast-paced lane battling, sharp decision-making, and clever positioning combined in a nail-bitingly tense, endlessly replayable, and tactical experience. Designed by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, with art by Leonard Dupont, published by Osprey Games, and plays in 30 minutes. The machines are activated. Initiate combat sequence. The battle for Io has begun. Game setup. Choose a faction, LFA or Posywid, and take all components. There are three types of cards: personnel, ROVs, and interference. Separate the 9 cards with the star number and star from the other cards and shuffle them together to create your starting deck. Leave room next to it for a discard pile. Take all remaining cards to form your supply and group them by type and force, which means all ROV cards, of which there are 4 types, and personnel cards, of which there are 3 types remaining, will form their own piles. Each card can belong to a force distinguished by the letters A or B on them at the top of the card. Doing this will create 12 face-up piles, which will be your supply. Place your fortification tiles next to the supply. Each player has 5 double-sided site tiles, one side showing an uncontrolled site and the other showing a controlled site with that player's faction. Both players shuffle their own 5 site tiles, uncontrolled side up. Each player then places one horizontal row of their 5 site tiles in the center of the table, forming 2 rows. Leave room around the 2 horizontal rows for placing ROV cards into the 5 vertical lanes the site tiles create. Randomly determine a start player and set the initiative card to that faction. The start player will first take a Moss A card from their supply into one of the 5 lanes. The second player then places a Moss A card from their supply into one of the 4 remaining open lanes. With setup complete, let's have an overview of a round before we get into too much detail. Overview of a round. There are 3 phases of a round: draw cards, determine initiative, play turns. 1. Draw cards. Each player simultaneously draws 4 cards from their deck. If the deck is empty, shuffle your discarded deck into a new draw deck. 2. Determine initiative. This phase is to determine who will play first this round. Both players will simultaneously choose and then reveal any card from their hand. This includes the interference card, though not generally recommended as they will only have an initiative of 1. You are looking for the highest number in the left-hand corner of the card played to win the initiative. Both players keep in mind that the card you use will go into your discard pile and will not be used for anything else this turn. The initiative card is turned to the winning faction. If there is a tie, the faction that is showing on the initiative card remains. 3. Player turns. The winning initiative faction may play and resolve 1 card at a time from their remaining 3 cards in hand, choosing an option and executing the action the option allows before playing another card. A player can play as many cards as they wish from their hand. If a player has any remaining cards in hand that they cannot or do not want to play at the end of their turn, they are discarded. Then the next player takes their turn. When the 3rd phase is complete, the round ends. Repeat the 3 phases of the round, beginning with drawing 4 cards. At any time during a round, if one of the two end game conditions are met, the game ends immediately. End game conditions. If a player controls lanes with a combined total of 8, that is to say you have managed to turn over enough of your uncontrolled site tiles to their controlled side, totaling 8 control points. Or, every lane is free of your opponent's Moss-type ROV. Cards in detail. With a basic understanding of a round, let's explain the anatomy of a card, the card types, and what they can do for you. Playing cards from your hand will give you options and actions in which you choose one to perform. Personnel, ROV, and interference cards have similarities in appearance. Look to the upper left of each card to find its initiative value. This number is what is used in Phase 2 of a round. Determine initiative. The interference cards have none of the following on them, but are used in some actions triggered by other cards. Next to the initiative value is the icon for the type. All personnel cards have the same icon for personnel. ROVs have 4 icons for each of the 4 types of ROVs: Moss, Exceed, Daku, and Tier. This is important as some card actions indicate which type of ROV can be used for a particular action. Some of the following iconography that is shown at the top of the ROV cards can be found in the Actions area of the Personal and ROV cards on the lower left. We will see how these interact with each other a little later. The letter A or B next to the title indicates the force it belongs to. The number within the shield is that card's base defense value. Lane effects are located on the right of the card. There may be 1 or 2 stacked on top of each other. The card may have a majority icon, a green plus. This icon modifies attacks and control actions. Beneath that icon, there may be a scanning icon or fortification icon for the attacker or the defender. Personnel cards are the people operating the ROVs, bolstering and commanding remotely. They are never sent down to Jupiter's moon Io, meaning they are never put into one of the 5 lanes of the site tiles. Personnel cards have 2 options, of which a player can choose one. 1. Card action. Perform a listed action. There are 8 personnel actions, but the cards will only list 2 to 3 of them to choose from on a given card. We will go over some of these actions later. Or 2. Hunker down. Return the card to the supply. This card can be placed anywhere in your supply. ROV cards can be placed on the surface of Io in the site tile lanes and have 4 options to choose from. 1. Deploy a card to a lane. Choose an ROV card from your hand and place it in a lane. ROV cards are deployed ready and are placed vertically. If a card is later disrupted by a shock or blast action, turn the card sideways to indicate this. There are a few placement rules to follow when deploying a card. There are no limits to the number of cards you can have in a lane. Force cohesion. Once a lane has an A or a B ROV in it, all other cards played to that lane must be the same force, A or B. Scanning. When you move or deploy an ROV card, you must take an interference card from your supply and add it to your discard pile, unless one or more of these conditions is true. You already have 1 or more ready ROV cards in the lane, or the deployed ROV is an Exceed, or you control the lane. A controlled lane means you have turned your site tile to its controlled side. Do not take an interference card when deploying the Moss A card during the setup. It is possible to receive interference cards multiple times from the same lane. 2. Activate a ready matching deployed ROV. Play a card from your hand that matches by type and force a previously deployed ROV to activate one of the listed actions on the card in the lane. This must be a ready ROV. It is vertical. The card played is discarded. 3. Ready a matching deployed ROV. If a card is disrupted indicated by the card turned sideways, you must ready it by playing a card from your hand that matches it by type and force. The card played is discarded.
Or 4. Hunker down. Return a card to the supply.
This card can be placed anywhere in your supply. Actions are located on the lower left of a card, with an action name and any attack values, modifiers, card amounts, or restrictions.
The actions on a personnel card are available to you to choose one of when you choose option 1, card action.
Personnel have 8 actions: blast, bolster, command, counter, overclock, redeploy, strike,
And withdrawal.
but you will only be choosing one from the card you have chosen to play. Bolster and command actions get you cards. With bolster, take up to the indicated number of cards from your supply and add them to your discard pile. There may be an A or a B next to the number indicating that you can only take cards from that force. Command lets you draw a number of cards from your draw pile. You can play them that turn. Remember, any cards you do not use are discarded at the end of your turn. Redeploy and withdrawal actions are used for movement. Redeploy lets you choose one of your deployed and ready ROV cards into another lane. Force cohesion and scanning rules do apply. The withdrawal action has you choose up to the shown number of your own ROV cards of an indicated force, ready or disrupted, from a single lane to your discard pile. Overclock lets you play your next ROV card twice. The ROV card you play must match the force indicated. You cannot use this action to deploy an ROV or use the hunker down option. Counter. This action makes your opponent return their disposal tech or decom card to their supply. If the card is in their deck, they must reshuffle after retrieving the card. Blast and strike. These actions attack your opponent's ROVs in a chosen lane. Blast 1 or 2 ready ROVs in any single lane and turn them sideways to indicate they are disrupted. After a blast action, the personnel card is returned to your supply, and you may not play any more cards this round. Discard any remaining cards in your hand. To strike, inflict 1 casualty on any ROV in any lane. Inflicting a casualty, whether it comes from an attack action or a strike action, your opponent must find an ROV card that matches the target and remove it from the game. Check for the matching card in this order. 1. From their hand of cards. 2. From their discard pile. 3. From their deck. They must shuffle their deck after looking for the matching card. 4. If the matching card is in none of these places, they must remove the targeted ROV from the lane. There are 7 ROV actions: demo, fortify, move, recon, shock, attack, and control. The final 2 require a majority check, so let's save those for last. To activate an ROV, you must choose option 2, activate a ready matching deployed ROV, as I have explained earlier. Demo and fortify. Each player has 3 fortification tiles at the start of the game. A single fortification tile can be placed in the lane of the activated ROV when choosing the fortified action. Fortifications help with defense against attacks. Choosing the demo action destroys an opponent's fortification tile in the same lane as the activated ROV card and is removed from the game. Move the activated ROV card to any adjacent lane following force cohesion and scanning rules. Recon. Remove any interference card in your hand from the game. Draw a new card. Shock chooses a ready enemy ROV card in the same lane as the activated ROV card and turns it sideways to indicate that it is now disrupted. Attack or control. When performing these actions, both players must check for majority in the lane the player wishes to attack or control. Majority enables or modifies these actions. Let's look at this scenario. First, the active player plays an ROV card from their hand that matches an ROV card they already have in a lane. Then they choose the action, control. Both players will then give themselves 1 point for each green plus they see in that lane. This is ready ROV cards. Don't count disrupted cards. Control of their site tile and fortification. If one player's total is higher than the others, that player has a majority in the lane. If the totals are tied, no one has the majority. In this case, the control action was chosen, so the player performing the action, if they win the majority, will get to turn over their site tile from the uncontrolled side to the controlled side. If the other player had control, they lose it. Turn their site tile back to the uncontrolled side. A lane can only have one controlled tile in it. If the player choosing the control action does not have the majority, this action could not have been chosen to perform. Majority. When choosing an attack action will enable some modifiers for the attacking player if they win the majority. First, the active player plays an ROV card from their hand that matches an ROV card they already have played in a lane. Then they choose the attack action. Both players then check for majority, counting the green plus signs as before. On the lower left of the attacking player's card, next to the title attack, there are two numbers in these hexagons. The first number is the base value. The second number with the green plus icon is used for your attack if you have the majority. In this example, the attacking player has the majority, so they will be using the higher number for the attack. With majority explained, let's continue with how an attack action is played once majority has been established. Continuing with this same example, the attacking player first chooses an enemy ROV in the same lane as the activated ROV. This is the target of your attack. Second, determine the total attack value. Use the base value if you do not have majority. In this example, the player does have majority, so we will be using the higher value.
If you have a ready tier card in the lane,
The card has this fortification on the top right, add 1 point.
your total attack value is 4.
The defending player will look at the base defense number in the shield at the top right of the targeted ROV. Then check and add the site tile defense number in that lane.
Next, add 1 if there is at least one ready defender Deku card in this lane, as shown by this icon.
Lastly, add 1 if there is a defender fortification in this lane, as shown by the icon.
The defender's total is 4.
By comparing both totals, if the total attack value meets or exceeds the total defense value, inflict a casualty on the targeted ROV by removing the matching ROV card from play as described earlier. If less, nothing happens. With the last of the actions explained, we come to the end of this How to Play video. Line of Fire Burnt Moon incorporates much of the already familiar Undaunted series gameplay and builds upon those solid foundations by adding fast-paced lane battling. Using your personnel and ROV cards to form a seamless turn can be tricky, but well worth the effort. There are many options and actions to choose from, making each play of this game truly unique and engaging every time you play. I'm Nikki from Board Game Geek. I hope you enjoy playing Line of Fire Burnt Moon.